Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently May 5th, 2010, and this is Day 9 Daily 110. As many of you who are just in the channel saw, I'm just sort of fleshing out some of the technical details and everything. I want to give a huge shout out to all the gentlemen over at GLHF TV, the Gun Run, and Martine, because they're superheroes and always save everyone when it comes to streaming issues. And of course, they did the same for me here today. So I'm delighted to be back. I just finished all the finals of all my classes. As you can tell, this stream was a little bit higher quality. I'm getting about 30 frames per second on my camera now. Hey! And hopefully it will sustain that sort of level of quality as we bounce on over to Starcraft 2. Another news, there's a few things that haven't been sorted out. For instance, my glasses are still broken. I've fixed them with a little bit of duct tape. So hopefully that'll hold out. I just lost a pin. I don't know if I told you this, but I was thinking about something really hard. I was trying to debug some code. I went to put my glasses on, but instead of putting them on centered, I pushed this into my eye, and I was like, oh! And for some reason, I pushed so hard it snapped off. So my eye really hurt, and I broke my glasses. But, you know, it's fine now. Today, we're doing something a little bit extra special coming up. We're going to be examining a game between myself and my brother in the HDH tournament. Now, for any of you who have not seen the HDH games between myself and my brother, this is going to be a huge spoiler, so just like close the cast now, or you can totally watch the cast now. But I lost to my brother 1-2, which is less than ideal. Like I said, playing against my brother is always a loss for me because, you know, we don't really like playing with each other because we like talk all the time and play against each other a lot anyways. Not just in Starcraft, but in like Street Fighter Alpha, Sonic Racing, GoldenEye, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which he's like 1,000 times better than I am at that. But anyways, so we ended up playing in this tournament. It wasn't that ideal to be against him, but I ended up losing, and I thought that I would examine the series less as a, hey, let's try to think about this, let's try to learn how to be better in this matchup or whatever, because, you know, I've done a bazillion of those, but to talk about how to deal with losing, especially in a situation where there's some amount of pressure. This not only is a tournament game that I ended up losing first round, it also is a casted tournament game, so it's a little bit of extra pressure, and it's against my brother, which means that regardless of the result, there's going to be all these people being like, man, Tasteless must hate Day, or oh man, they must be raging at each other, which isn't exactly how that works. So are people messaging me? Leave chat, and do not disturb is on. Fantastic. So let's bounce right into game one, which is going to be on Lost Temple. We were playing random versus random in this series. So we'll spend quite a good bit of time talking about that. That is my overlay. And see, okay, so I don't exactly have the most amazing mixer. See, I just come back over here. Look, whoo, pure straight cut. Yeah, there we go. But you'll notice that I've upgraded to the medium graphics setting. Oh, yes, isn't that fancy? And also, you might have a little bit of trouble reading some of these numbers, but don't worry too much about that. That should get sorted out relatively soon here. So we're random versus random. I spawned here as Zerg. Now, again, the focus of this is going to be a lot on mental state, a lot on trying not to, you know, lose your footing or anything, and especially about how to deal with a loss and how to think about this. So I just want to give some context to this. I spawned Zerg, and my strategy for the series was don't spawn Zerg, because my best matchup is are with Terran and Protoss. My Zerg matchups are a little bit weaker, so I didn't want to spawn Zerg, but, you know, there I did, spawn Zerg. And here's Nick spawning as Terran. Zerg versus Terran is probably my, might be my best Zerg matchup, but I'm not too sure. But we'll talk about that once I end up scouting him. So here I am. I just go ahead and do the extractor trick. So yeah, I'm just scouting with my Overlord. This is always a little unsettling when you identify something you're weak at. Like, oh, I hope I don't spawn Zerg. I really think that it's important to get out of the habit of just hoping that something doesn't happen. Just being like, all right, cool. You know, like, I did have a plan here, and it's important that I stuck to it. I was just going to hatch on 14 because I practiced that against all three races. A little bit tougher against some of the other races, but, you know, no big deal. I'm just going to stick to my plan in this particular situation. So I'm going to speed up. I'm going to just tell you that I, you know, make an extra drone because I feel comfortable with doing that. Probably could have Probably would have been nice to get it a little bit earlier as Nick does begin Reaper harassing me like crazy. But, Nick makes a nice little solid wall here, so that way he can lift this depot and, build a bunker here in case of any sort of extreme emergency. Very, very tight placement right there. Excellent, excellent little wall off that Nick's doing. So when I go here, I instantly see that he's not doing any sort of tech. I see the tech lab down, so I'm like, all right, sweet. I know he's going for some kind of Reaper-ish opening, so I start preparing for that. Reapers are very costly. Actually, I'll come back over to the main camera to say that. Aha! Reapers are really costly in the time department. They take a very long time to build, especially if you want to make a lot of them. It doesn't really feel that way with the first Reaper, but if you try to be like, say, Jinro, and you try to get like, I don't know, 10, 15 Reapers as the game goes on, you really do need a ton of barracks to be able to sustain that level of production, and it eats into your army numbers like crazy. So it's important to be really careful with Terran whenever you're doing some sort of Reaper harass, and as Zerg, it's important not to freak so much. So I'm comfortably making extra drones and overlords, and I'm getting my extractor up. So my plan is to get Mutalisks and then transition into Banelings. That's just my overarching plan right now. I've adjusted how I go about doing this. Now I favor getting a second queen and delaying the Mutalisks a lot more. In this game, I was basically rushing for the Mutalisks. And one thing, I just wanted to also say that if any of you are seeing any sort of lag go on the screen, or if it's looking a little choppy, that's because I'm streaming at a really high bit rate. So if your modem isn't fast enough, it can end up with a few issues. I'm trying to drop that down so more people can view it a little bit more easily. But I just wanted to state that while Nick ends up Reaper harassing me. And like an idiot, I forgot to turn sound on. I actually mute sound quite a bit. Is there no sound? Well, it appears that it lost sound. Oh, I think I know what the issue is. I've been doing so much stuff with the, yep, that's good. Whoa, there we go. Yeah, I've been fiddling so much with the sound settings trying to get both my mic and the computer audio to play that it ended up being a little bit funky. So he ends up, killing off the drone. This is a little less than ideal. I try to cut severely on the Zergling numbers early on, which I think is a bad idea. But, I'm trying not to panic here. I end up killing his SCV, which pretty much negates any sort of early death. So I'm going to go ahead and sack a few drones. I mean, I probably should have pulled back and not lost that last one. But I still think it's pretty important to note that it's fine to sack some drones. Because, again, he's losing a lot of time. I mean, let's go back to his base. He's at 24 food, and literally all he has is a command center and what? These 2 Reapers? Let's go to the unit counting station. Yeah, he has just those 2 Reapers. He's at 24 food. I'm at 23 food, but I also have a queen, so I can snap back in terms of production a lot more quickly than he can. But he is doing nice control. This is the one thing that's always really annoying about playing Nick, is that he never loses track of his units. He's always really good about constantly eyeing them. His macro slips every now and again, but, it's definitely annoying to play against, so I end up transferring more drones. I want to have a slightly evener economy. But I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I assume that the Reaper harass was done for now. I'm still feeling a little stressed, again, I don't like playing my brother, this is the matchup I don't like, but I'm just trying to stick to my overall plan. Why do I like Mutalisks into Banelings? Well, easiest thing in the world. If you make Mutalisk, he's forced to make a lot more Marines out of these barracks, and then you get a whole bunch of Banelings, which are, coincidentally, very good against Marines. I also don't mind going Spire into Infestor Zergling or Infestor Baneling. I do like Infestors quite a bit in this matchup. Just figured I'd throw that out there. But in the process of rushing towards this Spire, this is something I'm noting after the fact. So let's just take a break from the discussion of, oh, what's my mental state? How do I deal with this sort of, oh, this bitter loss? I just minimized my cam. There we go. One thing I'm noticing is that I'm at 34 food and he's at 32 food. I should be way, way, way far ahead in this little battle right here, because the Reapers really didn't do as much damage as they should have. But I'm noticing that I'm still pretty close in terms of food, and I think that's because I'm spending so much energy rushing to Spire, when I should have just been a little bit more gentle in terms of just making larva, playing a little bit more calmly and defensively. And see, now this is the point where I was just like, wow, Nick really wants me dead. Holy cow, right? He is just still attacking with Reapers. I mean, this is kind of late in the game to be doing this. So this is a little unnerving. And anytime you're in a game in general, but especially a game that you really want to win, such as a tournament game that you're playing against your brother that's going to be casted. You know, I obviously want to win this game. It's so important at a time like this just to say, what was my plan before the game? And does not have to be a huge plan. Like, again, you probably heard me say that Zerg versus Terran is not one of my favorite matchups. Zerg is very much so my worst race in StarCraft 2. But my plan is very simple. Mutalisks into Banelings, and pray that my mechanics end up fixing all the little holes like Overlord timings and macro. And that's reasonably accurate this game. And what happened right here is I just said, okay, I'm still going Mutalisks into Banelings. That's still what I'm doing. There's still no change in that. Always important to repeat that to yourself, just briefly mentally, whenever you see this sort of weird, funky thing go on. Now, if he was going mech, I would obviously